Hey everybody, Rayme here. I'm getting started in just a minute, just kind of setting on my audio and everything and making sure everything's working, and I'll be with you in just a sec. Oh yeah, and the theme for tonight is technology is good. You know why? Because when I talk to people about technology and they want to know something and I'm not really sure what they're talking about, I just kind of shake my head and I say, yep, technology's good. And it's not always good, but it's kind of funny to say that. I was asked one time after a conference, and let me turn this down a little bit and we'll get started here. So I was asked one time at a conference, so what did you learn? And I was like, I learned the technology was good. And they kind of laughed because it was like that was all you got. And I was like, yes, I got the technology was a good thing. Okay, so welcome everybody. I got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. Let me just make sure everything's up and running here. Let's see. It looks like that's all working. Let me make sure chat is working. Yes, chat is all up and working. Okay. So some big things I got to talk about this evening. Let's see. Okay. First thing I want to talk about, which is kind of cool, and let me close that down. So, for those of you listening, you'll be able to listen, and for those of you watching, I'll pull some things up on the screen you'll be able to check out. First thing, if you didn't hear about this last week, Microsoft won the Jedi contract. No, I'm not talking about like Star Wars stuff, but that would be really cool if we were like making like real lightsabers or something, or like I don't know, maybe the Death Star would be scary, but no. So if you don't know, and I've talked about this before, Amazon and Microsoft, they make a lot of money from the cloud. Like people think Amazon, they're like, yeah, Amazon makes money from selling all these products, but a lot of their money comes from them selling their cloud service, Amazon Web Services. And then Microsoft is making a ton of money on their cloud service, Azure. So they've been competing head to head for this big contract. I mean, big contract, $10 billion. So this is huge for Microsoft. I know some of y'all don't care about like investing, but it's cool to watch what the tech companies are doing. And I'm invested in Microsoft and Amazon, so it's kind of cool. But awesome, they won that. It's pretty big, and I did mention that on Thursday, but I just wanted to mention it again. Really cool. Microsoft won the Jedi contract. Huge. Okay. They've been doing a lot with their cloud, so it's cool to see it. It's nice to see like Amazon not always winning every single thing. So it's cool to see that. All right. Let's see. I'll do some more tech stuff first. And then I'll get into I want to talk about some cool gaming stuff tonight. So next thing, if you haven't heard, and I totally don't get this. So I do get it, but I don't get it. So HBO is releasing a new streaming service. It's going to come out in May, I believe, of 2020. And it's going to be called HBO Max. It's going to be around $5, and it's designed to compete with Disney Plus and everything else. And it's going to have like non-HBO shows too, like Friends and like shows like that. And I couldn't tell, like it was just announced, so like they're not telling you everything. But I don't know that it's going to have like all the HBO stuff, and I don't quite get it. So it seems interesting, and I really want to hear more, but you're going to hear more about HBO Max. The thing I hate about it is I totally don't need another streaming service. So it's awesome if you're a Verizon. So it reminded me of streaming services. If you're a Verizon wireless user, you're going to be able to use Disney Plus for free for a year, assuming you have unlimited data. So I do. So our family's going to get Disney Plus free for a year. So that's, it's only like $5 a month. So it's $60 a year, but still kind of cool to try it out. Don't think that's going to happen with HBO, but it's still kind of cool coming out with new stuff, new services. I just don't want to be spending a lot of money. So I guess ideally I'd like to see Netflix come down in price, and that would kind of even out the playing field. I could get like 4 services for $20. Not too bad, right? That would be kind of cool. Okay. HBO Max. Looks interesting. I'm curious to see it. on that news, if you haven't seen today yet, um, if you're not familiar, like there are all these like different streaming services out there. Like um, there's the PlayStation one, for example, which is the one that is just announced. It's called PlayStation View, and it was actually a pretty good service, very competitive with the other streaming services out there. For like, this is like the one that competes for like TV. Um, but they just announced they're going to be shut down January 30th of 2020. So that kind of stinks because PlayStation View seemed like a good option if for those that wanted TV but didn't want to have to subscribe to cable. Thought it was pretty cool, but yeah, they're going to be shut down. Kind of disappointing. Always good to have that competition out there, but at the same time, like I didn't subscribe to this and I wasn't going to. Like as I said, I don't need more TV. Like between Hulu and Netflix, I really have mostly everything. Then we have Amazon Prime, that comes with our Amazon Prime, and just on my Roku, I get the Roku channel, which always seems to have like some movies sometimes and stuff. Like we just don't need more than that. So, um, you know, but this was another option for people. I guess it wasn't doing well enough, so Sony's just gonna stick to gaming, which is probably fine. It is weird calling it like PlayStation View. Like it probably would have done better if it was called like Sony Plus or something like that. Like and maybe they would have sold more than calling it PlayStation, but it's kind of probably tricked some people. Like my wife would probably have assumed that it was dealt with like you had to have a PlayStation to use it. Like she probably would have never like just checked it out. So like, um, oh well. Anyway, it's gone, so you're not buying it anyway. But it was just kind of disappointing that it's going away. Okay, now to talk a little bit about, so that's like some big tech stuff that's happened in the last few days. I want to talk a little bit about some gaming stuff that's been happening and going on. So first of all, for those of you that haven't been paying attention, if you're not like a big esports fan or gamer, you probably don't really realize this, but esports is, and I'm going to talk about this next, esports is new in a sense. I mean, esports has been happening since I was a little kid, but it wasn't really called esports, and it wasn't like it is today. You know, with streaming, we completely changed esports. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But if you haven't been paying attention, there's tons and tons of companies. So I'm reminded of like the early days of the UFC. So I was a huge UFC fan when it first came out. I loved watching it, but it was really cool to watch like all the organizations, like all these companies, like be formed and started and come about, and it was really cool to watch them like all compete and see like who the winners are. Like obviously UFC stayed number one, and there were a few small organizations, but there were like t-shirt companies invented, like Tap Out and other stuff. So just like the beginning of that industry, we now have a new industry, which is gaming and streaming, along with esports. So what's happening like in the stream world, this is where people who are on Twitch or YouTube, like I'm doing right now, are streaming live, but usually while they're playing video games. And I did promise you guys I was going to play some Fortnite with my son and video it, or just play some Fortnite in general because I want to do some reviews of the game. But I got a cold on Friday night and I couldn't. I actually lost Sunday. I was talking like this. I was like, hello, Luke, Luke. I am your father. Yeah, I know. I'm doing another, it's like my second Star Wars joke tonight. But I like Star Wars a lot, so that's okay. But no, I like seriously lost my voice Sunday and totally couldn't talk. So that's what happened there. So I didn't do it yet, but we're going to try. Maybe we'll get to do that this week. Oh, somebody wrote Star Wars. But so what I wanted to say is that it's interesting. So there's like a streaming war happening. And what that means is like, first of all, the two big competitors that most people will think of when they think of streaming are YouTube and Twitch. And they're both designed for the same thing, but there's some differences. Like most people think of like gaming, they're going to go to Twitch, and they think of like educational how-tos and stuff like that, or shows, they go to YouTube, but it's really mixed all together. And there's tons of each of those in both. You know, some of the most followed person is a Minecraft channel on YouTube. So like that's not always the case, but what's happening is other companies are popping up like Mixer, and Mixer's huge. So this isn't like a small little like mom and pop shop here. But for those familiar, Amazon owns Twitch and Google owns YouTube. So those are monster, have monster parent companies behind them. But then there's other companies like Mixer, and what Mixer did is they're pulling streamers away. If you haven't heard, so one of the biggest Twitch streamers, called Ninja, he's a big Fortnite streamer. One of the most wealthy streamers. He's a guy who's like literally when a new game comes out, they paid him. He's paid like $1 million to play it for a few hours, like just so people will watch it because he's so popular. But he's one of the best Fortnite players in the world, very popular. He left Twitch not too long ago, and now we're seeing more streamers are being paid by these companies to actually leave to bring their audience with them. It almost reminds me of like the early days of radio when like people were competing, or like TV, like get the personality over and on us on our channel, and people will come and watch. So it's really interesting to watch that and kind of pay attention to what's happening. I just think it's really cool to watch what's happening in the world of streaming. Streaming really just changed the way we view and do entertainment. Like if you have little kids, or kids in elementary and middle school, and you ask them like what their favorite show is, like they might say a show that's like a show that like it's a person's name on YouTube who's playing a video game or doing like goofy stuff like smashing eggs on their head. Like that's literally what kids are watching. Those are their favorite shows. So these streamers have become extremely popular. It's just really, really interesting, like from an educator perspective and a fan of all this stuff, because I think it's cool. It's just to watch like how it's unfolding and what's happening with it. It's very fascinating. I really like it. So I think that's really neat. And just to watch like who comes out on top. Like, can I predict in like 10 years like who's going to win the streaming war? Like, I mean, I have my money on YouTube and Amazon, or Google and Amazon, like YouTube, Twitch, because they have so much behind them and stuff. So having said that, I have money in both companies in the stock market because I do have faith in them. I always mention about like investing and stock stuff because I'm big into like financial stuff. I really like that, find it interesting. Maybe I should do like a segment on like some of the stuff I invest in and what I use and stuff like that, because maybe not everyone who would watch my shows are the type of people who would invest. I don't know. I don't know if people would find that interesting, but I could always do something like that. I think it would be kind of cool. Because I do talk to like other educators about the investing stuff, and they're always like they didn't know what I'm telling them. They found it really interesting. So it's one of my like million hobbies. My wife always laughs. She's like, the last thing you seriously need is another hobby. Like, please stop it. Let's see. There's this eSports thing I want to talk about, but I want to just talk about one thing. So basically, and this is for like everybody out there, my students especially, like if you're considering buying a new computer, the next month is the best time to do it. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're going to get the best deals out there. Like if you're looking to buy someone a computer for Christmas, if you need one for school, if you need one for entertainment. Now there's always, I tell my students like in the beginning of the semester, there's always great back to school deals. But compared to what is going to be available on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, those are the best of the year. In fact, if you're going to buy anything, if there's anything you're interested in, buy it over Black Friday. Like I just got a new car and I'm buying like some different things, like some liner mats for it and stuff like that. Totally waiting till Black Friday. So I'll probably I actually, so for my running shoes, and I know this is like totally non-tech related, but I buy my running shoes at Black Friday every year. I buy the same shoes. I get the Nike, whatever they're common, the Pegasus. I'm a Pegasus. I've tried every other running shoe in the world. I get knee problems or shin problems from them. For some reason, the Nike Pegasus just work for me. I have no choice but to buy those, even if I hate the way they look. It doesn't matter. They're the only ones that fit me correctly. I've tried other brands and everything, but I find them for 50% off every single Black Friday. So I just know, like on Black Friday, I'm buying my running shoes for the year. I might get several pairs, but I know I'm buying them for the year on Black Friday. But like computer wise, there will be so many good deals. Like I see this Alienware one, $1,400 that's $700 off this computer. So there are lots and lots of good deals out there right now. And I know people aren't trying to always spend like $1,500 on a computer, but if you're interested in gaming and stuff like that, or high-end multimedia development, video compression, anything like that, you are going to want to spend more money on a computer. You're not going to, but you can actually find like $1,000 computer for like $400 on Black Friday. And maybe you do have to like wait at Best Buy from like 2 in the morning on, or do like something crazy like that, which I would never do. But I will admit the last 2 years or something like that, I've actually went to Walmart on Thanksgiving night for like some kind of deal, which is really sad to admit that. And I'm totally against like those stores even being open that day, but they are. And it's like a fun thing I've done with my dad and brother. So like we kind of have made like a thing of it. And we almost I don't even know if we bought anything last year. It was just funny to go to the store because there were so many lines and it was so crazy. It's like a spectacle just watching a store that crowded. Kind of funny. Okay. A few more things I want to talk about tonight. Okay, so if I'm not going to show this, but you should totally watch this. I'll actually share the link right here. Let's see. I don't want it to play. Just want to share the link. So if you didn't watch Saturday Night Live last week, they actually had Chance the Rapper do a skit where he made fun of esports, and it was kind of funny. Actually, it was pretty funny to listen to. Hold on, let me do a little breakdown of this because it was kind of funny. Let me make sure that you guys can actually hear it while it plays. Let's see.
League of Legends World Championships, only on MSG. Welcome back to MSG's eSports coverage of the League of
Let me turn that volume up just a little bit.
Doug Miller alongside Mark Laramie, and what a tournament it has been. Incredible. Take a look at this. Moments ago, Shadow Gaming eliminated top-ranked Team Echo, claiming their Nexus in only 32 minutes. Woo! Did not see that coming. Wow.
So it's kind of funny that people have already laughed like nothing's really happened. Like, that's an esports tournament right there. Like, that's exactly what it looks like. It's what it seems like. It's what happens. There's like a news people there. There's showing the building, like kind of cool stuff.
Our regular esports reporter Jake Sussman is out today.
And that they're kind of like just making fun that like, they're saying that their reporters out. They're kind of making fun of like esports being something that kids are doing. And I don't think that's something to make fun of. I think it's absolutely amazing that like 10, 12, 14, 16, up to like there are 60-year-olds in professional esports. It's so cool to watch all of those ages working together to do something and seeing that like kids can do something amazing. I see it in surfing a lot. Like I go out in the water and I'm not a professor anymore. I'm average surfer guy out there, and there are like 10-year-olds like ripping by me, but we can all like communicate, and esports has that as well, which I think is kind of cool.
SATs. Good luck, Jake.
So what they do is they have Chance the Rapper on, and
Legends.
you can see
this is not that. It is.
He's basically what he's doing is he's making fun of esports.
Yeah, a little different.
Yes, I brought a basketball to get signed, and someone in the crowd here asked me what this was. So,
that's kind of funny. I mean, basically what they're doing is he's saying like, I brought a basketball to an esports event, and none of the people who were at the esports event knew what the basketball was. And that's kind of funny. They're playing on stereotypes, and I get it because like, I guess like the stereotype is this, I don't even know what the correct word is, like just that they're not playing sports, but that's totally incorrect. A lot of esports people are athletic and doing 10 other things. Like they might be playing another sport, or they might be in band or whatever, like doing all kinds of stuff. They're usually very motivated people, and they're motivated to do well in like a competition like this. But it's playing on like maybe what the general public would perceive as a stereotype, which is kind of funny. I'm not going to show like every single thing here. Basically what he's doing is he's making fun of it, talking like, this is kind of funny. They ask him like what's happening in the scene, and he says, I don't know, but it looks like what a seizure would feel like.
Well, to me, this game looks like how a seizure feels. But I think if you know what's happening in this clip, You need to get out of the house more.
You know, that's kind of funny. You know, if you know what's happening in this clip, you need to get out of the house more. I know exactly what's happening in the clip, even though they've edited it for Saturday Night Live, so it's totally not really what's you would see on the screen. Like they're making up tornado kill and stuff. That doesn't League of Legends doesn't say that stuff. But it's kind of funny that he's just saying all that stuff because I love esports so much. So it's and I'm the type of person that I think it's funny when someone is like making fun of what I like. I think it's like I can be roasted and stuff, and I think it's hilarious. Like it's, hey, you know what? It's you know, publicity onto the sport, which is good. Because there are people like my parents called me and they were like, "There's this thing on Saturday Night Live. They were talking about esports. You know, they were making fun of it, but they were like it's big enough that Saturday Night Live would do something on it. Like that's what's cool. I thought that was pretty funny." Let me see. I'll forward through another section. You know, he's basically like, he's interviewing this kid, and this is kind of funny. He's like, he doesn't want to say the kid's name because if you don't know, like everyone has a call sign or like a username or like whatever, like who they are. And everyone knows in games, I'm always Jiu-Jitsu Ph.D. That's just a name I picked like 10 years ago on Xbox Live, and it stuck because I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was working on my PhD at the time, so I just had to think of a name quick, and it just kind of stuck, so that's what I'm known as. But it's funny, he like asked this kid his name, and he's like, I'm totally not going to say that. This is kind of funny.
Do that. I am here with... Turn around for me. Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
That's kind of funny, because it's like the guy's username is like, you know, just some crazy name. Like that is hilarious. I think that's pretty funny because a lot of times like I see someone's name in game and like I can't pronounce it, but like they have a way to say it and maybe I just don't know, but it is kind of funny. I thought that was pretty cool. And then it goes on like the guy, like there's all these girl fans and he's like, I can't believe that, like girls are like, or that someone like this would have fans. And then at the very end, I think this part's hilarious.
Upside down.
Thank you, lads. When we return, the quarterfinals begin. And we'll be one step closer to seeing which team will take home the $7 million grand prize.
$7 million?
Stay with us.
So that, I think, is absolutely hilarious. Like, he's standing there, and they're like, and now we're going to go to the quarterfinals, and someone's going to take home the $7 million, and he's just like, $7 million? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the kind of money. Like, for playing a video game, it is crazy, and it's real. That's what's great about this, is this skit is making fun of everything esports, but it's totally real. There is a huge crowd like that, and they love the games, and they know exactly what's happening, and they have weird usernames that we can't pronounce, and that's completely normal. Like someone looks at my name and they can't say Jiu-Jitsu PhD right away. Like, I mean, maybe mine's kind of easy, but people have like XXXXT, and it's like a number and stuff, and they have like a name for it. Like I'm called this, and you don't know that unless you're part of it. So, and there is tons of money in it, and it is kind of cool. And it's funny. It's just funny that Saturday Night Live did that. I thought that was pretty hilarious. So anyway, I thought that was pretty hilarious. Totally worth going through and watching that whole entire thing. All right. Two more things I want to talk about. One more actually, these are both esports ones, but this one's like kind of specific to a game. The next one's like more like general, you know, knowledge type thing. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the game Apex Legends, it came out like, I want to say a few months back, but it's probably been like 6 months now. This was actually the game. I just told you Ninja, the guy, the famous esports guy, was paid $1 million to play a game for 3 hours on his Twitch stream. This was the game. On release day, this company, who owns it, EA, paid him $1 million to play this game for 3 hours live on his Twitch stream. Like, that's the kind of money in this stuff. So anyway, they now have 70 million players. So that means this game is getting way popular. It's not a Fortnite yet, but man, it's getting up there. I mean, those are big, impressive numbers, because you know what? That's like a steady increase, not a lot of games, like they release, they get a user base, and then boom, they drop. And all games do drop a little bit, but this one did drop a little bit, but now it's like flying up there, and I like this game, so I'm really excited to see what this does in esports. I just wanted to mention that really quick, because I like to see those big numbers. I think that's kind of cool. Okay, last thing. So someone, and I talked about this in the beginning of this, someone asked me recently, when did esports start? And I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, when I was a little kid and like playing Atari, like you can see right here, like when did esports start? Well, here you go. I'll pull it up on the screen here. But esports started in the 80s. There were a few competitions, gaming competitions, but that's competitions. Man, we were having parties where people would come, like I would have 5 friends over and we would be competing in video games. This was happening when I was, 5, 6, 7, 8, like early, mid, late 80s, happening all the time. Then, like as it goes through, I'm not going to do like a history of esports, but if you ever watched the video game show The Wizard, where they showed Super Mario Brothers 3, had Kevin Arnold in it, guy from the Wonder Years. I know I've talked about this before, but he, in that movie, they had a big video game competition, and Nintendo was notorious for having these competitions like that. So it was kind of cool. And then obviously, when esports really, really, really started to like take aim was in the 2000s, when really Halo 2, and then finally when Halo 3 came out, a company called MLG, that's when esports really, really, really started to take off into something. But then like 2010 to like 2012, it kind of like had like a pretty much, I'd say it was like pretty flat or even down. And that was basically due like economy tanked in 2008 and people were panicked about jobs and everything. Even like 2010, 11, 12, like things, economy was starting to go up, but it took a little while for it to go up. What really changed esports, and I say this all the time, is streaming. When streaming happened and people could actually watch it live, like all the time, total game changer. And it's like anything else, like football. It's like I can go to games and me and my friends can play games, but like when football came on the radio and then became on TV, it became really popular. Same thing with esports. Like now we can finally watch it. So when someone's interested in like when's the history, like when did this stuff start, it really started in the 80s with Atari, but it didn't become a thing until we finally had streaming and were able to watch it on the computer. That's it. And that's basically everything I wanted to talk about tonight. Just basically some tech stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about some esports stuff because I like that. A little bit of the gaming stuff. Turn this down a little bit. Just different stuff like that I wanted to mention. And yeah, that's about it for this evening, y'all. Have a good night. I'm hoping my voice sounds so much better today. I'm so excited about that. Hopefully I've been sick 3 times this semester. Like, it's not even November and I've been sick 3 times. And it's from my kids because they've been sick those times too. That's what happens when you have 3 kids aged 4, 6, and now 9. So anyway, have a good night, y'all.